Cause and effect. Is there a way out? Hello friends. Believe all is well with all of us. Someone asked recently, why is the music in the background always the same? Well, that's because all these audios are recorded on an app which has this tune as a default one, and the speaker doesn't really know how else to record other than through this app. No much knowledge on this technology and stuff, so please bear with this. Right friends, for our today's subject, let us look at few words that Jesus says during this time when he restores the sight of a man who was born blind. This man was completely blind right from his birth. Everyone knew him well as he used to sit every day at the temple gate. One day, Jesus and his disciples were passing by. Jesus sees him, moves out of love, touches this blind man's eyes and restores his sight. Miracle. The man who was born blind, who had never seen a thing in his whole life, starts to see things now clearly. One of the many miracles that Jesus did out of love. Now, in this particular story of our blind man, there's nothing complex. Jesus is directly saying this man was born blind so that God's work and his power can be revealed. All questions cease now because it's pretty simple and straightforward. Then what is our message about? It is about this interesting dialogue that happened between Jesus and his disciples. And for that, my friends, let us go to the Gospel of John, chapter 9, verse 2. John chapter 9, verse 2. Let's read it together, shall we? Rabbi, which is to say teacher. Rabbi, his disciples asked him, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his own sins or his parents' sins? Verse 3. Jesus answered, it was not because of his sins or his parents' sins, but this happened so the power of God could be seen in him. Read that verse again, verse 3. Jesus answered, it was not because of his sins or his parents' sins, but this happened so the power of God could be seen in him. That's what Jesus said. Now, for the sake of our understanding, forget the rest of the story and the miracle and just meditate on these words. Neither he has sinned, nor his parents have. Please let us understand what Jesus was telling us through those words, my friends. Nothing to do with anyone sinning, but God's power had to be shown, and that is why this particular man was born blind and suffering. So what does that mean? Unlike in our blind man's life, in general, does it mean that suffering in life could be due to our own sins or sometimes due to our parents' sins? Yes, absolutely, that's what it means. A person can experience suffering. Could be of different types, of course, but suffering and affliction could come because of one's own sins or sometimes because of our parents' sins. That's the fact Jesus has confirmed. Suffering due to your own sins or your parents' sins. Do you remember on multiple occasions, Jesus, whenever he healed people, after healing them, said to them, go and sin no more. What does that mean? That means sin by far is one of the most important reasons why we experience suffering in life. Suffering can be in the form of mental, emotional, social, financial, or physical issues. Suffering due to our own actions. Precisely, this is called the law of cause and effect. What is the cause? It is our sinful action. And what's the effect? It is our suffering. Pain and suffering in life could be a byproduct of our own sinful actions. When our own actions or our parents' actions become the reason for our suffering in life, then we must understand that the law of cause and effect is working in our life. Some ancient religions called it as karmic effect. Now please, I request, this word karmic effect, just because this is coined and used by some other religions or traditions, please don't be closed in your minds. Don't have negativity towards such stuff and miss the whole point here. Please. All right? Right. So far, we have understood that when you carry out any action that is inappropriate, or when you commit a sin, you could suffer in your lifetime, or you may even pass it to your children, to your next generations. Scary, isn't it? But it's a fact. You can find good examples for this everywhere, and in the Bible, and of course, Christ has confirmed it as well. And with those facts understood, now the question comes, how do we fix this? Because no one wants pain. We don't want to suffer. We don't want our children to suffer. So what do? How to fix this? Immediately, many of us may say now, don't sin, live right, be godly, take a right stand, have morals in life. True. Yes, of course, agreed. That's the way. But hey, come on. Let us be honest to ourselves and accept that humans we are. And even when trying to live a good life, a moralistic, godly life, sometimes we might slip. Sometimes we might do wrong things, say some wrong words, commit few sins here and there. By the way, we are talking about the wrong things we do knowingly. At times, we convince ourselves saying, oh, it's just a small thing, no big deal. Look into something which you may have done recently in the past. You have probably done that because at that moment you must have convinced yourself saying, oh, it's just a small thing. I'm not hurting anyone. It's no loss to anyone. God will forgive me. You see? That's how we end up committing wrong actions. Now, having said that, the speaker is not here to tell anyone what is a sin and what is not. It is up to one's own conscience to decide on such stuff. But the point is, minimizing what we do doesn't change the nature of it. The fact is, it's still a sin, and it will come with its fruit sooner or later. Cause and effect. What we sow is what we reap. Exhausting. It is a burden that's too heavy to carry. So how on earth are we going to fix this, get out of this? And who knows how it is after we leave this earth? I don't know. I don't know because I'm still here. But one thing I might know is that as long as we are on this earth, we all are subjected to some laws that govern this universe, like the law of attraction, the law of compensation, law of giving and receiving, and so on. And one of the most relevant universal law applicable to all of us is the law of cause and effect. What we sow is what we reap. So how do we get out of this reaping of pains and suffering due to our actions? Let us look into it, all right? Now you all must allow the speaker to say something here. Saying this not to brag about anything, but just to make a point. The speaker has studied different ancient religions and found out that they have taught few methods, certain spiritual practices, ways, some rules and rituals for man as a way out of all this suffering. And with love and respect towards all fellow human beings and their own beliefs, the speaker is not here to compare and validate that kind of stuff. It's never been the interest. What we are interested is rather to know and understand if there is any way out of all this, a way which can be adapted by man. Few have strongly suggested that one has to work out his own actions in his journey of life, or else he will suffer in his present lifetime or in his next life. Few have proposed some techniques, some methods. Some say that man may have to take multiple births in order to work out his own destiny before he finally becomes a clean slate, and so on. List is long, but that's not the issue. The issue is they're not easy or possible to follow and implement due to many reasons, like lack of knowledge, lack of true knowledge, or they're very difficult methods to follow. And perhaps the most important reason is the very nature of man, the nature that keeps falling into the trap of sin over and over, repeatedly. And also, if man has to work his own way out, then why God? Where is God's place in human beings' life? Is man so equipped to work out everything on his own? Is man so independent that he doesn't need God to help him out of this never-ending drama? The answer is no. It's a simple no. God's creation is based on interdependence. Look around. All the creation is interdependent. Insects, plants, small animals, big animals, human beings, honeybees, everything is interdependent. And we are dependent on the supreme creative force of God. And we need God. We are dependent on God. We need God's hand to pull us out from this whirlpool of sin and judgment. And if you think you can be made sinless and righteous just by doing some good deeds, Well, what can I say, friends? Check again, because that's not the case. No one can be made sinless just by doing what the law commands. The knowledge of law, in fact, is given to us only to show how sinful we are. You go punish yourself, whip yourself to bleed, go fasting for days and months together. You go dip yourself in some holy waters, rivers, whatever it is, all that could not save man from sin and its consequences. Remember, it's written, no one can be saved by his actions. No one can be saved by law. And that is why, as a last resort for man's salvation, God, in his amazing grace, worked out a way for our freedom from sin. Once and for all, he threw a clear road map in front of us, a clear way so that we can get on it, get rid of the sin and its consequences. And that way is none other than Jesus Christ. What is unique, different, and special with Jesus is that he did not just show a way, but he became the way. That's why he said, I am the way. Unlike in other practices and methods where man has to work on his own, here with Christ, all you gotta do is just trust in his sacrifice and receive your salvation, receive your freedom through faith. That is all. Finish. That's all. It is through faith. It's not through our good deeds or actions as one may think. It is not your religious rituals or knowledge. It is not the spiritual leaders and religious organizations which can save us, my friends. It is our faith. Our faith in Jesus and in the God who has sent him. That will save us from the eternal damnation of our souls. By merely realizing, confessing our sins honestly, and by accepting that Christ's sacrifice can free us from sin, we can be free of sin, its judgment, and the suffering associated with it. Is it that simple? Yes, it is that simple and extraordinary. But unfortunately, man's mind always wants something challenging, hard, complicated, because that way the ego of man gets boosted and man says, oh, it was hard, it was tough, but I did it. No, dear, it's not you. It is simply God's grace. It is Christ's sacrifice that can pull anyone out of that pit, can pull anyone out of hell, anyone that believes. It is that simple. Step in faith. Take Christ's sacrifice seriously. Get rid of sin. Get rid of the guilt and the suffering associated with it, and be free. God bless.